Welcome to my Bob Thurman podcast. I'm so grateful some good friends enabled me to present them to you. If you enjoy them and find them useful, please think of becoming a member of Tibet House US to help preserve Tibetan culture. Tibet House is the Dalai Lama's cultural center in America. All best wishes. Have a great day.
This is episode 310, Life, Love, and Enlightenment.
Hello, everybody. Happy post-Halloween day, although it's still holy, everything. And here in Woodstock, it is just incredibly beautiful. I mean, beautiful. It could be a beautiful summer day. It is Indian, what we call Indian summer, native people summer. They're not Indians, actually. News flash to Columbus. They're not Indians. They are the native people here who live here. They're the Americans, but they don't call them the Turtle Islanders. Okay? So Turtle Islander summer day. And I'm really feeling happy because I have confidence that we will win this election. We will hold the Congress, and we will therefore be able to continue to move more strongly toward healing the environment by honoring Mother Gaia, who needs honor. She's very well able to take care of us. She has been doing so for hundreds of thousands of years, and she will continue to do so. But we have to stop abusing her, and her skin includes this thin shell of atmosphere that guards life on Earth and makes it possible for us and the planets and the plants to exchange our oxygen and carbon and to breathe beautifully and to enjoy life, both of us. So we mustn't over-abuse the plants and the planet, and we mustn't blotch Mother Earth's atmospheric skin any more than we have. And we have to move growth back into growth of quality instead of quantity. And we have to have quality of life, quality of earth, quality of soil, Josh, quality of water, quality of air, quality of temperature, of fire, okay, and quality of space. And we have room for everybody in it. We don't have to go down to sacrifice a few billion, like some deep ecologists who think we're all bad. But we have to get more reasonable, okay? So that's the thing. I'm moving around my thing because I love the mandala behind me. That mandala is the mandala of time, of the wheel of time as a life machine, a love machine, not a destruction and a domination and exploitation machine, but of life as a joy machine, okay? And that's what therefore that's helpful. We need to reside in such a residence, which is open boundaried and invites all beings in, including all animals, not just humans. But the humans are the one doing the inviting of the animals, because humans, although we do too much eat them, we are capable of not eating the animals, mostly. Nothing is perfect in the relative world because it's relative. Anyway, I'm in a happy mood, but I've been really tense for months, worrying that our people would be confused by other people who are confused and behaving in a semi-demonic manner, and that we wouldn't act responsibly right now when we need to, and we're going to. And now somehow I feel that we are going to, and I'm pretty confident. But that doesn't mean don't get out and vote. Don't take other people to help them vote. Don't speak out in coffee shops to get people confused, straightened out. Defend anybody who's being beaten by crazy people, and be but don't go after them. Just defend anything they may do, and let's pray that Putin decides life is more important than power at all costs, at the cost of death. Okay, and withdraws, and then that the Ukrainians are generous and let's still allow Russians to go to the beach in a demilitarized Crimea, which I think they will be. He's a comedian. Doesn't mind having a good, healthy Russian audience as well as an Ukrainian one, and thereby heal the deep bitterness that has grown up between them because of Mr. Putin's misdirected and misguided and mismotivated invasion. All right. So I want to talk today about love and life and how enlightenment is not owned by Buddhism as a religion. It is not also attained merely by a belief other than the very basic human belief in reality, the belief that a baby has as it approaches the nipple of the mother's breast. He or she, baby, approaches the she nipple of the mother's breast, that it will deliver nourishing milk. That reality has nourishment, tastiness, lovingness in store for it. Okay, that's a belief. That's trust. That's what the great Erik Erikson, wonderful psychoanalyst, psychological theorist, who was a teacher of mine in a course that I aced it mentally, but I didn't properly take it. Except I do remember basic trust in the stages of personality development in reality, leading to what my beloved Lisa Miller, Dr. Lisa Miller, calls spiritual wellness. That is key. But that's not a belief in Buddhism. It's not belief in Christ or Christianity either. It's not belief in Moses or Judaism either. It's not belief in Krishna and Hinduism either. It's not belief in the Tao either. But it's the core thing that all of those things are pointing at, yes. And then the secular humanists who abandoned mostly Christianity, maybe also a punitive form of Judaism that they locally encountered. Maybe there were some Muslim scientists who we don't know about because they got purged by a punitive form of Islam that had been dominated by caliphs, rulers, military leaders rather than women or true scholars who should have been the ones to control the direction of the collection of Muhammad's brilliantly inspired medium mystic teaching, delivered by the gods for sure, delivered from through his heart of love for sure. Okay, so they wanted to escape from that punitive thing, and they said, we're not going to believe any of that. We're not going to believe in God. We're going to believe in the goodness of man, of humans and woman, and we're going to find out what nature is, because we have a confidence that if we learn to attune with nature in the right way, there's enough food, enough energy, enough space, enough love, enough comfort, enough shelter for everyone. Okay? And of course, very imperfectly, like all the others, all imperfectly implemented. And then some fanatics who just think they can become nothing, who transferred that absolutism that the people they'd had previously about God, that was presented them as being too punitive and therefore not trustworthy, harmful, transferred that to nothingness, which they made into a thing and a place and like an absolute substance almost, where you could go in and escape from relationships. And therefore you wouldn't have to have any reaction to the way you related to others and to the world. So all these imperfect forms of trust to be replaced by the basic trust in reality itself, and the quest therefore to discover that reality. And if you want to call that reality God, then the quest to know God, not just believe what some people in a church or some people in a government or in a social community tell you God is. You don't have to follow some conformist thing. And if you believe in nature, then know nature, and don't go crazy and believe in nothing. That's the one thing. Believing in nothing is a really waste of belief, because it's not a thing you can believe in because it isn't there. Okay? Nobody ever said gods were not there. And anybody who thinks it's only one God, if it's only one, then it doesn't relate to anybody. It is everything. So that's like the clear light, the infinite loving nature of reality, the infinite energy. E equals mc squared. So E is infinite energy. Infinite energy doesn't blow you up. Infinite energy is you. It's already, you're immersed in it, so it can't blow you up. It doesn't want to, doesn't need to. It's only near infinite energy that can harm other kinds of things if misdirected by those who don't understand it and who are angry with somebody, who use it for destruction. Okay? And then they make weird contraption that releases some energy in atoms, that is trapped in atoms, actually. And even that is not necessary, because energy can never really be trapped. But yet it's available to all cells and all life, and it is the life energy and everything. That trust goes beyond any set of names and concepts and religious identities or personal identities or impersonal identities. But it's you and it's me, and it's all that is between us, and it's everyone else. And we're all equal together in it, so we can really take care of each other. So that's what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about Buddha's, honoring Buddha, however, not Buddhism, but Buddha. But we can honor all isms too, but not with that absolute honoring. The absolute honor is to Buddha in the sense that what Buddha means is the complete scientist, the scientist who came to know reality, which others have come to, and then they have gotten attached to a theory about it, and then they get dogmatic, and then they are incomplete. The complete one came to know it and said to everyone, you can know it as well as me. It is you, it is me. And it is reliable. Therefore, for you, you can trust yourself at that deepest level of yourself being all reality, beyond your little identity separate from reality. Your real self is something beyond reality. It's a selfless self. It's in that sense. You can trust that. And it is yours, but you share it with everyone. And since it has infinite power and infinite space and infinite energy and infinite nurture, and therefore meaning infinite love, it's shareable without diminishing your infinite enjoyment of it. How about that? Beyond any expectation you may have had. Surprising you, amazing grace, how sweet it is. That's why people love Jesus, because Jesus opens the door to them to amazing grace. Because Jesus was a Buddha, meaning he knew God, he knew reality, he knew that he was you, and therefore you're all right. It isn't that he saved you when you weren't all right. He knew you were already all right, as my beloved friend, the Reverend Michael Beckwith, who I love at a distance because I never get to LA to see him. You're all right already, is what he let you know. You don't have to dominate the government. You don't have to have onward Christian soldiers. That is a debasement of Jesus' vision. To go and dominate some other people and make them recite the same words that you recite. Jesus was beyond words. He was beyond words. He was beyond words. Actually, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. You know, his last words, which people took as a sign of show of agony, which he knew it could be taken like that. And that would also be all right for some, in the sense that sort of the being beyond that they believed was beyond them, shared in their agony. So, and they couldn't have believed that their agony is illusory, and they can find in themselves, in the middle of whatever circumstance, freedom from that agony. They couldn't have believed that level of knowing reality. And so at least they could go beyond their suspicion that the power of the universe, that reality, could have made them so miserable, in that what they believed was reality, like a person, like an authority, like a super king, like a super god, a super priest, that being was willing to share their suffering. So that is the one way of understanding that. Eloi, Eloi, sabachthani. You know, lama sabachthani. Lama means, it doesn't mean lama like Dalai Lama. Apparently in Hebrew it means why. Lama. I'm not sure why that syllables can mean why in a language, but they say it does. And sabachthani. Again, I wonder if you could read that, you forsaken me. I don't think it may have all those pronouns in it. So sabachthani may just simply be the word abandonment. And maybe I'm abandoned. And maybe there's no have you, or no, the sort of personal transitiveness of that may not be there. It may it be interpreted as how I can even abandon this. In other words, if it's the moment of death, where he is actually going into death, because he knows he can come back from it, but in a way, by sharing a human partial perspective, he's also ready to give up that knowing. So he just says, he abandons a sense of separate self. And Eloi, Eloi, oh God, 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 is that his meeting with the infinite energy, which is beyond the personality of a personal God, but which is reality, which is all and flooded within himself. So he discovers his huger self, his God self, actually, that he is God, his unity, where there is no death because he's infinite life. So can you read that as a cry of triumph? I didn't hear him shout it. I don't know if he was mad about it. When you say, why have you forsaken me? It's like blaming. That's like a blame. That's an accusation. But which, when some people hear it, that's echoing what they feel. They think there's an ultimate being out there that has like dished them out such and such a horrible lot. They've just been beaten up. They've been tortured. They've been raped. They're half amputated. They've been on their way to death, which they think their body was their only life. They're all shut in their sense of separate individuality, and yet they're being divided. So they are complaining. So he's echoing that. But maybe he's not complaining. He's, after all, is God. So maybe he's just giving it up. Like, I'm giving up the why. I don't need the why. Lama sabachtani. I just don't know Hebrew. I must study its grammar. Sabachtani, exactly what each of those syllables really means. I'm sure in the Kabbalah they have another reading. I have to look it up. I have 14 volumes of the Zohar. I'm going to look it up. I'm sorry for my ignorance. Buddha, when he left, he just said, everything is impermanent. Work out your own freedom. With diligence is one version. Or be cool might be another one. And goodbye from this body that you think is the freedom that is actually already also yours. And that was the gift. Parinirvana doesn't mean final nirvana. It means total nirvana. That is the Buddha's way, more powerfully sharing his bliss, freedom, indivisible state of being, beyond actually the illusion of him being a separated body. His complete way of, thorough way of doing that is more complete merger with you, all through time and space, not just the beings around him, but all beings through time and space, was to leave his body. So therefore, break the illusion that you're thinking that the enlightenment's over there in that person and not in me. Again, there are two ways of understanding it. The non-dual way, which is the deep reality belief way, and the dualistic way, which is the relational, sort of not quite perfect, reality needing a little room for improvement way. The great Zen saying of Suzuki Roshi, oh, of course, reality is perfect. While there's always a little room for improvement in any particular relative situation. And Buddha's scientist way, where he says, yes, I know reality. I experience it. I have merged with it. I know it thoroughly in that sense that I'm one with it. Like a CAT scan knows the structure of your nervous system. They didn't yet have that. He could have referred to that since he knows all time. The ultimate scientist can and does. But he said, I can't express it because language will not capture it. You have to go beyond dualistic language, binary dualistic language, yes and no, here and there, you and me, I and thou. You have to go beyond that to know it, he's saying. So that, as a scientist, that doesn't mean don't be a scientist. Somehow just lobotomize yourself where you can't speak and then you'll know it. No, because even you have only the seeds of language, like the lesser animals than human do, they've all been human. They're fully capable of Buddhahood, and they're going to be Buddhahood. And they have the essence of Buddhahood within them, of being the greatest scientist every gorilla does, every lizard does. Definitely. That was part of the satisfaction of that knowledge. They're not just there for us, although we're all there for each other in another way. But all of us would prefer not to be for each other in the way that others should eat us. We'd rather just enjoy sharing infinite available energy with each other. So nobody goes hungry and nobody gets eaten. That would be better. That's a little room for improvement there. So that's the thing. So the scientist then says what that is saying that no language can comprehend it, which also means no math can measure it. No geometry, no math, no idea can encapsulate it. open mind, ultimate open mind, going beyond my mind, and mind joining with all minds, without abandoning my mind as a contributor. That's the scientist. So therefore, we can have theories. We can use language to create vectors to open doors for others and more doors for ourselves if we're not the complete perfect scientist that is a Buddha yet. So it's just Popperia. It's like Buddha anticipates Karl Popper's methodology of science, that all theory, all so-called laws of nature, all theory, which includes the laws of nature, they are really theories. They are hypotheses, they're approximations, they're supported by much experience, experiment, data, evidence, measurement. But they are awaiting also falsification by further experience and data and measurement, and experience beyond data and measurement, in a way, even open to surprise, open to the unexpected, open to grace. That's the true scientist. And the idea that there was a perfect one is not a put down of everybody else. It's a promise. It's in the nature of reality that the living particles within that reality, if we could call our elusive and ineffable self particles, thinking we are particles, ignorantly perhaps, or misknowingly, but there's room for us to we're still infused. It's like very simple. You can get it very simply. You're a finite being, we all are, but we're also infinite, because infinity can't be excluded from within our boundaries. Infinity is within us without invading us. It's automatically in us because it's a concept for that which cannot be bounded. Therefore, it has to be everywhere. Okay? So in a way, there's no where for it, because it's everywhere. And there's no when for it, because it's also every when. It's infinite in time as well as space. And that's what we're also that. So we're both that and the other, which is paradoxical, it's contradictory, and therefore language will bump up on one side or another of it, but can't catch it, can only open to it. Okay? So that's where we are. But within that, being there, where we are can therefore include, with our partial knowledge, knowing that it's not being fanatic and rigid and super righteous and thinking we only know and we're only right, and being angry with those who question and criticize us, even if they do it with a good intention for us. We still can be angry and avoid the benefit. And we can be practical. And being practical means it's a no-brainer, this election. We're facing an election that is critical for all life on earth. This one really is. Because misgovernance and misguided governance has jeopardized all life on earth at a place where even the most simple-minded person almost can see it. Although certain more stubborn, simple-minded people are telling people, don't look. A wonderful film you should all go see, Don't Look Up. There's this asteroid hurtling to destroy all life. But the political leaders, to solve their own power and things, even temporary up to death, are telling everybody, don't look at it. And they're only recklessly able to do that because they assume that after death, they won't be there. Because there'll be nothing, because they think nothing is something. So they're willing to risk destruction for a complete illusion that nothing will save them. It will anesthetize the pain of the destruction of their life form, that life form of theirs. And then their life form will be straggling in a place with no planet to land on. I know maybe a long journey, although the subtle mind, the soul mind, can travel at faster than light speed. And there's zillions of other planets, of course. It would be completely irrational to demand and insist that we know that infinity cannot contain other, better, and worse zones of life. Everything is possible. Anything is possible. That's part of the knowledge. But the loving energy of it all is such that everything be good is also possible, ultimately. So there may be some temporary people seeing something bad and doing something bad, that the ultimate goodness is the power and the reality of it is also possible. All right? So the no-brainer is one guy, very fallible guy, did a lot of mistaken things, knows that they were, is trying to undo them, but anyway, wants to help us and use our collective will, which is our government, to help us. And the other guys don't want to do that. They want to stop all help. They pretend that our collective will is misled, and they are owned by a few people who think we just don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to be part of the collective will. Somehow they'll do it better later if our collective will can't do it. It's blocked from doing it. So one wants to help, one wants to harm. It's very simple. One wants to destroy our collective will, which is our democratic government. They've shown they did it. They tried to wreck the building in which its business should be conducted, although it's been blocked from being conducted for almost 40 years. Somebody was supposedly in charge of it who said, it's the problem. This thing I'm in charge of, it's your problem. So I'm in charge of it in the process of getting rid of it. That was Ronald Reagan. Let's face it. The government is the problem, not the solution, he said. Of course, that's wrong. The government is our collective. Read Thomas Paine. Read Thomas Jefferson. The government is our sharing of our little piece of the crown of sovereignty, of the crown of authority, of the crown of power, the shattered crown of the English dictator, tyrant, king, emperor. And with those shards, we then, however, recollect them temporarily around an administration with three branches, independent of each other, to check each other. Right now, we are in a situation where they have comprised. One of them has been destroyed. It's just part of the minority party trying to block the government. And the other one is trying to somehow renew itself. And that's obvious. So we have, within the executive and the legislative, we have those who want to make it run. We have an executive who wants to undo many wrong things that he did as part of the legislative for 40 years, knows how everything works, was corrupted by it, he never got super rich, so wasn't as fully corrupted by it as the oligarchs and the libertarians who now want to destroy it so they can rule whatever sphere of ruling, crush whoever's in their way, which is what that ends up as. When libertarians, anarchists take over, rich anarchists take over, it ends up in a dictatorship. It doesn't take dictatorships long to destroy whatever country they are ruling and running nowadays. So it's obvious, it's a no-brainer, for all their imperfections. And also, the syllogism that some Princeton graduate friend of mine could never quite face. Lesser of evils equals less evil. Okay? And more good, more opening to the good. And it's easy to see that if you trust the overall reality and you don't absolutize any theory about its evilness and your fear and your paranoia and your suspicion and hatred of others and so forth. All of this would become a victim to all of those things when you won't open your mind to being bigger than yourself, to your spiritual wellness, not necessarily your religious faith, that can be a bad, fanatic, unfortunate type of thing if it's connected to some sort of authority structure, social authority, fallible authority, social authority. There's no infallible rulers of organizations. So that's where you can know that at a glance at history. Okay? So go and exercise your freedom to get more freedom. I know you're going to. I know your heart is moved that way. You're fed up with this violence and anger and suspicion and lies. And you don't even know some of the lies are not true, but you know the quality of the liar. You can tell that they're just trying to egg you on and egging themselves on. They don't know what they're saying. You can see it. The glazed look in their eyes when they shout and scream angrily. And your heart knows it. Okay? So that's my cast today. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to cheer everyone up. I might as well promote my book, which is Wisdom is Bliss. And I never had a book tour. Or maybe I'll start one now because it was published still during the tail end of COVID by my wonderful, beloved publisher, Hay House International. And it's called Wisdom is Bliss, the 4 friendly, fun facts that can change your life. And I think they can, actually. And I'm only grateful to the Venerable Geshe Wangyal, His Holiness Kapche Ling Rinpoche, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And after that, Moses, Jesus, Krishna, Yahweh, Allah, Muhammad, Yajnavalkya, Shankaracharya, Nagarjuna, Tsongkhapa, Lao Tzu, Confucius, Wang Yang, Wang, whatever, all of them. I'm really grateful to all of them for trying to help people find happiness. I really am. So be happy. And another subtitle of it is Cheer Up, folks, because reality has amazing grace in store for you. Whatever the way you might, wherever you might choose to look for it, if you look hard enough and don't listen to other people's definition necessarily of it, it's there for you, the amazing grace, for sure, 100%. Okay? Om Mani Padme Hum. The Tibetans have a wonderful, nice, almost to be genocided, sadly, but it will fail. But there's some foolish people trying. People of Tibet, which are not really Tibetans, they're called Bodans. The name of their country is Bod, or Be, and they're really Bodans. And so those Bodans, I think in English, they call themselves Ba, because the Ba means a person, for a person of Be. But if we anglicize it, it might be Bodan. I think I look forward to when we will be calling them, when they have their nation free, even in a close federation with the grand United States of East Asia or United States of China, if they insist on the name of that silly empire 2,200 years ago, made by a vicious emperor who thought his empire would last for 10,000 years, and it lasted for 25, because that's what dictators do. They don't last, because nobody wants one. So they can take the United States of China, but better would be United States of East Asia. And then in that way, they would have a better name, because really their own name for themselves, is Zhongguo, the central country. But actually, everyone is an eccentric country in the modern time. We're all central. Every being is central. So there is no central country. It's kind of an old-fashioned term. And they are wonderful, big, creative, vast mass of people in the east of Asia, which they also use that term. So that United States of East Asia, like the EU, they could be the AU, the Asian Union. Okay? And they would be one of the states, one of the big ones like Germany is in Europe. And they let the others be free as federated. And then everyone will be happy. And that will happen inevitably. Any dictator can try to conquer everybody around him. They will fall. They'll destroy a lot of lives. They'll destroy their own country. Look what Mr. Putin is doing. They'll destroy their own place. But eventually some leader will emerge who will realize he will open the doors, who will live beyond his own imperial self. And he will realize, like some of the ancient emperors did, actually the successful ones, they'll call themselves Chan, which means your humble servant, which is what true president knows she or he is. To the people, that I am your humble servant. I am not your dictator. I am not seeking special privilege over you. I am not. I am your servant. And the ancient Confucius taught them to say Chan, not Wo, but Chan. Yeah, Wo is also good, but Chan means your servant. How can such a person enslave others? They cannot. And they know that. In the heart of the Chinese person, that is also known. That freedom also resides in their heart, each one of them. And so everything will work out. But why wait so long and delay so long in these sort of egotistical fantasies? No need. And we vote for you, for your freedom, you Budans, and you Mongolians, and you Chinese, and you Manchus, and you Uyghurs, and you Koreans, everyone, and you Japanese. Okay? Om Mani Padme Hum.
The Bob Thurman podcast is produced through a Creative Commons No Derivatives license. Please be sure to like, share, and repost on your favorite social media platforms. And is brought to you in part through the generous support of the Tibet House US Menla membership community and listeners like you. To learn more about the benefits of Tibet House membership, please visit our websites at thus.org, menla.org, and bobthurman.com. Tashi Delek, and thanks for tuning in.